Gentlemen, congratulations for being awesome. Word on the street is that you have seriously upped your gent game. Well, let me tell you, it has not gone unnoticed or unappreciated. But there are some of you that apparently are late to the game because you're not as gentlemanly as you should be. And if you missed any of the other topics or videos, they are all listed and linked in the description. But today, we are making it rain because we are talking about how to attend the gentleman's club like a gentleman. Now, before I get into this, I would just like to acknowledge that I am not the biggest fan of strip clubs for various reasons. Total, I've been to 3 in my entire life. The last time was 10 years. So am I an expert in strip clubs? No. Am I an expert in being a gentleman? Yes. And just because I don't like going doesn't mean that you don't like going. And so, without any further ado, I would like to congratulate you for putting all those young ladies through college. It is a known fact that strippers only strip because they all need tuition. I'm telling you, ask them. But my personal opinion of strip clubs aside, my job, right, is to ensure that wherever you go, you are doing it like a gentleman. Strip club, if you're going, you're gonna do it like a gent. Tip number 1, a gentleman knows the rules of the establishment that he's going to. All strip clubs were not created equal. Just because you were able to get a little bit handsy at Jim's house at Juicy Ass doesn't mean that you're going to be able to fondle the ladies at the Cheetah. A gentleman sits back to get a lay of the leggy land before engaging. Tip number 2, a gentleman brings cash to the strip clubs, all right? If you want to get raped, figuratively, bring a credit card and use a credit card. You will get hammered with fees, upcharges, and suspicious charges. You're like, what? Where? Huh? Bring cash. Not to mention, if you got a credit card on you, start drinking a little bit, things start sounding like a good idea that would not be if you were sober. Tip number 3, a gentleman knows the price before engaging in anything. Because everything in a strip club has a price, right? Those lap dances, they don't think you're super cute and charming. There is a price associated with it. You ask them how much first. How much? Ask them. Don't be shy, because true story, I had a buddy, all right? It was a bachelor party. We go, and he's like, yo, he's starting to drink, and there's this chick who's hanging with him for hours, right? And she'd get up and do a little something, and he's actually leans over to me, he's like, yo, I think she likes me. I'm like, no, what? I didn't say anything. She kept dancing. They kept hanging out. At the end of the night, he owed $300. He was pissed. He's like, $300? I'm not paying you. He tried to leave. Old boy ended up paying. But the moral of the story is ask before you receive. Leading us to tip number 4. A gentleman has the ability to say no. Or no thank you. Somebody comes up, says, hey, you want to dance? Yeah, you like that? Twerk it. You don't have to accept it. You can say no thanks, maybe later, I'm married, whatever you want to tell them, it's up to you. But you don't have to accept it. If you accept everything, you're going to have everybody coming up to you, being like, hey, how about I dance? And then like the girls you really don't want dancing for you, the one that they like keep in the back. Like, no, you can come out like when it gets later. Yeah, they'll be all like, you are my man. Tip number 5, a gentleman doesn't use his phone close to the stage. All right, there are sort of zones in a gentleman's club. There's up front, right, by the stage where all the action happens. Then there's the darker areas in the back, right? You need to use your phone to answer a text, read an email, whatever. Don't do it up at the stage. That's just frankly rude, right? Do it in the back. Tip number 6, if you are sitting up front, you tip the dancers, at least $1 or $2 every song. I'm telling you, don't be one of those guys that just sits, looks, this is a job, they're getting paid to do a job, and you're taking up a seat. You don't want to tip them, move to the back. Tip number 7, a gentleman knows the dress code prior to going to the establishment, but I must warn you, do not wear your nicest clothes to a strip club, right? You wouldn't wear your nicest 3-piece suit to a dive bar, would you? Strip club, same thing. You want some chick grinding all up on your light tan favorite chinos? Not me, Jack. Tip number 8, a gentleman is polite at a strip club. He doesn't treat the dancers like prostitutes, because they're not. Most of them, some of them probably are. Assume that they're not. Kind of related is tip number 9, which is don't fall in love with the dancers, right? They're there to make you feel good. So handsome, like, my God, you are the man, right? And you're like, some dudes are like, really? And they're like, it's like, oh, you got some pretty naked girl sitting there telling you how fantastic you are, running their fingers through your perfectly coiffed hair. It is their job to make you feel like a rock star. Don't believe the hype. And last but certainly not least, probably should be first, is tip number 10. A gentleman doesn't get wasted at a strip club. He doesn't get wasted when he goes out, all right? If you missed the video where I talk about how to drink like a gentleman, it's listed and linked in the description. Gentlemen, clubs are for some dudes a lot of fun. Other dudes, not so much. But if you're going to go, now you know how to do it like a gentleman.